Alright guys, today we are learning how to find the areas under the curve, or the area under the curve. First we basically use the equation 1 over the a plus 1 and then x a plus 1, and then all of that we times it by the constant. What does that mean? That means a represents the exponent to the power plus 1, and then x we times we times the constant by the x. Alright, that's the first rule we need to know. Second thing, let's say that the area is going from, we need to find the area of x equals 1 to x equals 2. How do you find that? First we need to write these because it's going to be deleted. So write first the rule 1 over a plus 1, basically constant, times 1 over a plus 1, x a plus 1. And then we need to find the area of x equals 1, x to x equals 2. These what we need to know for now. And let's say that we need to find the area using the equation x to the second power plus x plus 1. Alright, so this is the equation first. Then we need to write this x to the square plus x plus 1. Alright, using the first equation, which is constant times 1 over a plus 1 times a plus 1, and using the first part of the parabola x squared plus x plus 1, we know that the constant is 1. And then we times it by 1 over 2 plus 1, and 2 represents the power of the first term of the the parabola equation. Times it by x to the third, basically 2 plus 1. So that will give us what? That will give us 1 over 3 x to the third. Just know that the first term we are looking at is 1 over 3 x to the third. So write on your paper 1 over 3 x to the third plus, now we go to the second part of the equation. The second part of the equation we deal is with only x. The equation we refer to is this. When we find that, now we are looking for that, since we already checked this one. To find x, we know that the constant for x is basically 1. Times it by 1 over 1 plus 1, because the power of x is basically 1, times it by x over 1 plus 1. And we get what? 1 over 2 half times x squared. So plus half times x squared. Second thing is 1. Alright, now we're looking for the term, now x squared plus x plus 1. We finished this, we finished that. Now we're looking for this. How do you find one of the equation of the integral? Basically, there's no constant for 1, because this is the coefficient is 1, but there is no x. So the x in this case is 0. We know that times anything to the power of 0 is equivalent to 1. How do we determine that? Well, it's basically 1 times 1 over 0, 0 plus 1 times x 0 plus 1. X 0 plus 1. Alright, So using that, we know that's basically 1x. So the equation we're looking at in this case is, after finding, using constant times 1 over a plus 1 x a plus 1, is this one. 1 over 3 x to the third plus half x squared plus x. So this is what we need. So type this in your paper. Now we refer to the upper limit and basically the down limit, basically. Upper limit minus the down limit. We know we're dealing with x equals 1, x equals 2. Now we need to take x equals 2, plug x equals 2 to the equation, minus x to the 1 to find the area underneath the parabola. So basically, we plug it into the equation that we find, that we already found it after using the k times 1 over a plus 1 x a plus 1. In this case is when we plug in, basically when we plug in 1 over 3, wait a minute, 1 over 3 times it by 2 to the third plus half times it by 2 to the second plus basically 2. What do we get? That's the upper limit. Well, we know that we're gonna get, fraction. How we do with fraction? First, when we times 1 over third times 2 to the third is basically 8 over 3. So 8 over 3 plus half times 2 to the second, in this case is what, 4 over 2, so it's plus 2, right? And then we get the last one is plus 2. In this case we get what we get after using, after multiplying that, the result is basically 8 over 3 plus 4. Well, how do we change 4 into, we need a common denominator. How we do that? It's 8 over 3, so what else can go over 3 will give us 4. Basically, what number over 3 will give us 4? 12 over 3, basically, right? So 12 over 3. Now we get 20 over 3. So the upper limit, after finding the upper limit, we get 20 over 3. That's the first part of this equation. We write 20 over 3. We type 20 over 3 minus the down limit. So after plugging the 1 into the equation. So 20 over 3 minus the down limit, which is, in this case, is x equals 1. Basically, 1 over third times 1 to the third plus 1/2 times 1 to the second plus x, which is in this case is 1. After finding this, what do we get? Well, we get 1 over 3 plus half plus 1. All right, so this is what we get. All right, 1 over 3 plus half plus 1. We need a common denominator. How we do that? 1 over 3, we know that we can make it as 3 over 3. Half, we can make it as basically half, how we get a common denominator of 3 using the half. Well, now in this case we can use that 3 over 6 because we cannot just put 3 over 2 over 3. That does not make sense. So let's just do this. Yeah. Let's just do. Wait, I gotta move on. All right. So let's just do as 3 over 6. Shoot, 3 over 6. All right. This is what we need for now. And basically, how do we use the common denominator of this, like 3 over 6? Well, 3 over 3 is using that 6, 6 over 6. So here we can make it as 6 over 6. And 1 over 3rd, how we can make it as 6? Well, it's basically 1 over 3rd. We need to turn it into 6. So basically 2 over 6. All right. So 2 over 6. We times it by 2 basically. So 2 over 6. What do we get right here? It's basically 20 over 3 minus the result of that, which is 5 over 6 plus 6 over 6 is basically 11 over 6. So the result is 11 over 6. Over 6. All right, now we get 20 over 3 minus 11 over 6. Well, how do we find that? We know now we are dealing with 20 over 3 minus 11 over 6. How do we do that? Well, it's basically times it by 2 to make the denominator of the first term of the upper limit be 6. So it's 40 over 6. All right, so we'll make that as 40 over 6. Let me just write it in the so the answer in this case is 40 over 6 minus 11 over 6. We get 29 over 6. That's the answer, 29 over 6. So the answer is 29 over 6. Let me write it. So the answer is 29 over 6. Now you can guys check, you can check my answer, but basically if we draw the parabola, all right, and we need to find the area of basically anyway, if you guys draw the parabola and find the area, basically 1 over 2, like right, maybe like trying to find the area of 1 to this 2, like you can guys say like in here, basically that area is 29 over 6. If you're trying to find the area of basically x to the 1 for the down limit and then x to the second, so x to the 1 to the x to the second, and using the equation x to the second plus x plus 1, then we find that the area is equivalent to 29 over 6. Or you can just type 29 over 6 if you want it as decimal. That's the answer, but it's better to write it as 29 over 6. I hope that helps. If you guys need more help, I can do it in the comments, or I can basically write a sheet of paper and then send it through maybe Scribd website or things like that. But yeah, if you guys need more help into finding the area under the curve, probably, willing to help for that. Thanks.